All right, guys, this is the video version of the Substitute Teachers Lounge podcast. It's a weekly podcast for both substitute teachers and teachers alike. This is going to be a good one, and I don't do a lot of videos, but I wanted to do one on this. A lot of you that listen to the audio, my normal podcast listeners, are probably listening to this because I'm going to share my screen. You guys know I'm a full-time sub right now because of COVID. In the last 2 years, I have done long-term sub roles amounting to about 14 months and 14 weeks. And in that situation, you're put in a situation where you have to grade papers. If you're a substitute teacher that's retired and you used to be a teacher, they probably trust you with grading then, or even if you're a student teacher or a substitute teacher that wants to be a teacher, you too will probably be involved with grading. Well, some of my biggest nightmares are when I handed out the teacher's paper test, and when I took them home and I had papers in front of me and they circled their answers, I had to spend hours manually going through those and grading them by hand. You try to find the right method. It really makes no sense to do it a test at a time. So you do it a few questions at a time, flip through all the tests, go back to the top, go through the next set of questions, calculate the percentage, and then that's what you have to put in Infinite Campus or whatever tool you're using for your school. Well, I found some easy ways to do that, and it's using two tools that you're already using. So I'll talk about this just here in a moment. They are Kahoot and they are Google Classroom. And the reason I wanted to do this video is, to be honest, I was kind of shocked that as many teachers that I thought would know don't know about these automated features. I participate in Facebook rooms where it is Google Classroom specific or it is Kahoot specific, and I hear grading situations come up all the time, and I'll bring up what I'm doing and it's like, what in the world are you talking about? So let's look at two methods. Let's start with Kahoot, because basically this is a method that takes your testing from having to grade it by hand and instead having a nice, neat little report to use to grade those. So what I'm going to do is share my screen, and I'm going to go to a Kahoot test that I actually did. Now, I know a lot of you guys love Kahoot. You're doing it to have fun in your class. You're also doing it to learn in your class. So what I have been doing is I talked to the first few weeks that I taught for this teacher. I asked her, how do you want me to teach various subjects? We got together, we brainstormed. I knew what I had to teach, but the method that I taught, she said I could do whatever I want to. So when we got to test, I decided I am no longer manually grading tests. And I had already played around with Kahoot reports. So let me show you what we came up with. This is a Judaism section that we had to teach, and this is the test that we taught at the end. So if you're familiar with Kahoot, I won't go into the details of how to create a test because that's actually in another episode of the Substitute Teachers Lounge podcast. What I will tell you, though, is some of the options that you can use when you're creating a Kahoot is extended answer time. So here's what I told the kids. They all had a Chromebook. I said, listen, your next test, I'm going to give you on your Chromebook in the classroom. And what I decided to do, I said, you're not going to have a competitive element to it. I said, in fact, I'm going to give you 120 seconds, 2 full minutes to answer each question. Now, it was only a 45-minute class, so you might be asking, well, Greg, that's already 40 minutes. That's cutting it pretty tight. And it is, and that's not going to take 40 minutes. I'll explain that here in just a moment. So when they walked in on test day, they got their Chromebook. I already had the Kahoot PIN number that they needed to type in. I had it flashed up on the screen, and I had directions. Now, here's one thing you want to do as a fail-safe if you do this, because you know you get students all the time talking about how their computer just cut them off of the internet. So what you want to do if you decide to give a test with Kahoot is to make sure they have a piece of paper next to them and a pencil. What I did is when a question comes up and they say, my internet just went out, I pause the question and then I say, all right, you see the answers, write down your answer. If it's question number 4, put down a 4, write down your answer. And then that way I know that they're not waiting for the answers to be displayed before they answer their question. Now that is rare though. That didn't happen to us too much as we did this. But you can see as I scroll down through here, I show you the answers. Those are all the questions. But the important thing, here's what I wanted to get to. Let's say the test is over. Let's look at some results. We click on reports, all right? It's, in this case, the report for this test. I'm going to scroll down and find that test. It is, as you know, it is my test on the test I gave them on Judaism. So let me scroll down and find that. And if I can't find it real quick, I'll go to a different test. I actually did it twice. So let me go to the one on India. I'll click that one. We'll look at the results. All right. So it's pulling up the results on your screen that you're watching as we speak. There's the results. Look at that. We've got 87%. Not bad. This is the summary. It told me that I had 28 students taking the test. It was a 20-question test. And here's one of your answers. It took them 31 minutes, not 40, to answer those questions. That's because that if everybody gets finished with the question before the 2-minute time limit is over, the question ends. Now, the great thing for them, the thing they like about it most is that they immediately know whether they get the question right or wrong. So therefore, they immediately know after their final question how many they missed. It's just like a normal Kahoot. They know the questions they get right or wrong after they do it. So it's great in that respect. They'd rather do that, believe me, than sit through the time it takes for a teacher to grade the test, post the grades, and in the meantime, they don't know what happened. So let's click this next section here that says questions. And it actually takes you to the question. It will tell you how many questions they got right, who got them correct, who got them incorrect. That's actually on players. I won't show you that one. So even though this was from a while back, I don't want to release any names, but the questions, one thing that will identify for you is anytime you had a question that several students missed, maybe it was because I didn't do a good job of preparing that test. So I want to go back and see if I want to throw that question out. But simply, I'll say this, the best part for you is that when you click the players, it will give you the students' names. It will take you through they will already have their actual percentage in there. So you can really just go right in there. You can print off that report if you choose, or if you're good at copy and pasting, you can look at the scores, post those scores right into your Infinite Campus or whatever you're using. You're good to go. No more flipping through the papers, no more calculating percentages and hoping that you get it right, because I made mistakes every time I had to grade a paper quiz. So that was my problem. So I hope you're better at that than me. But to be honest, I don't ever want to do that again. Now, that's the first tool. Kahoot, give them automated test, have them take the 2 minutes to answer the question, emphasize, don't be competitive about it because you're not going to get any more points if you answer them quickly. Yes, that podium will still come up, but that's okay. We want you to get the question right. That's the most important thing, and they'll appreciate that. Now, let's go to what I call maybe even a better option. I created a dummy Google Classroom because I didn't want to reveal any students' names or anything like that. You all are familiar with it. Let me show you some things you can do that you probably don't know about, all right? We're going to click Create. I'm going to create a quiz assignment. Now, what happens when you do that? props up what you normally expect to see, a title for the assignment. Let's just type in, I'll type in STL for Substitute Teachers Lounge, and we'll leave it at that. You'll see that it's got a blank quiz down at the bottom. Now, if you use that one, that's fine. That's what we're going to use. As a matter of fact, we'll create it from scratch. And if you had created one in advance, you could actually X out of this and then put another one, a quiz that you had already created in there. But let me click on that and show you what our options are. You'll see that it's a blank quiz. You've got options for titling. You've got options for various different things. Let's call it quick area, because I'm just going to put a couple of area problems on here. So I'll just put in quick. I won't put a description in, but for my title question, let's say area of 3 by 5 rectangle. Okay. After I've got that in, then it wants me to add, you see I have it in multiple choice mode. It wants me to click on option 1 to give what the first possible answer is. I'll put in the right answer there. We'll just call it 15 square units. And since I didn't really give a dimension, and then we'll add another option. We'll just add those two together and call it 8. So that would be the wrong answer. So that's your first question that you've designed. You're going to go down here. The next thing you need to do, first of all, I would go to the bottom right and click required, because you want that to be a required answer. We're going to click in answer key. All right. Here's what we're going to do. Let's say we want this overall test to be 10 points and we want it to be 5 points a question. Let's just go ahead and click that up to 5, give it 5 points. Don't forget to do this. You have to click the question answer that is the correct answer. Then you're going to click done. All right. So we've got that finished. Now, what I'm going to do is to add another question. Now, there's a plus sign with a circle around it. That's where you add the question. Keep in mind, it's on the bottom of my screen because I'm using a laptop. Normally, if I'm using a desktop, it's over to the right. So look around for where that is. You'll see other options down here too, by the way, if you want to add an image or something like that. But for what we're doing today, let's add one more question. There's our question. Let's just put down which one as our question. Or let's put down, do you agree? And I'll make my first option yes. I'll make my second option no. Again, we're going to go into this section down here that says answer key. We'll give it 5 points as well. All right. And then we're going to say that no is the correct answer. We're done with that. We are also done with this question. And as you know, most everything you do on Google Classroom is going to be saved in draft form. Now, I don't have any students in this class, but I will explain to you the steps that you take next. All right, let's go back out to our classroom. And what we'll see now, if we click on this blank quiz, is the questions that we just created. Now, since I am in a dummy classroom, I'm not going to be able to show you some of the things that I had hoped to. So I think what I'll do, I'll go back over to my Kahoot tab and let's go into my normal classroom. I'm going to do that. I want to show you these features on a test that I created. And we'll go quickly into the email address that I use for that. So we are in my normal classroom now, okay? So I'm going to go down to Mr. Collins' first period. I'm going to open that. I'm going to go to my classroom. And then let's look at something I just created. Let's try Geo Practice. You will see that in my case, there was 7 people that still need to work on this. There is 9 that turned it in. I need you to act as if you're remembering that test that we created. I'm not going to click a whole lot of things because I don't want students' names to accidentally come up. But here's what I'll tell you about a blank quiz. In fact, let me go ahead and create one. That will be an easier way to show you. I'm not going to create a whole an additional one from scratch, but look at some of the things that we'll have when you have students in your classroom. Let's look at the bottom left part first. This is grade importing. Make sure that that is on. That will be important when you get finished with the test. So if you're going to create one, make sure the grade importing is on. And then here's what you do. All right. I am not going to show you anything else. I'm going to talk you through it. First of all, you'll see stream, you'll see classwork, you'll see people, and you'll see grades at the top. So you know that is there. That's where we're going to finish up. So what I'm going to tell you, some of these tests that you would have created, all right, you're going to have students in your class. For instance, the first class I showed you, flash quiz, geometry vocabulary. If I click this right here, this graded part, it would go to that test, but it would also show you the name. So I'm going to describe. Once you click, that's probably before you grade it, it's probably going to say turned in. If you click that, the resulting screen, I want you to look up here in the upper right-hand corner. It's going to say import grades up here. When you click that, it will populate the grades based on their answer and list their names over here to the left. It will show you all the grades. You will have a feature up here at the top that says turned in. If you're following along with me, turned in, click that, and then it'll have you confirm. Do you want to tell these students that you found your papers, you've turned them in, and that's the first step. Your papers are graded. Now, here's another thing that I'm going to show you. I don't think I can show you yet on the one I created, but on this one, if I click grades, again, it's going to show you the student's name, so I won't click that, but I will tell you once you click grades, this is the best part of the whole video. You're going to have your students' names come up. You're going to have a list of tests that you assigned to them that was in Google Classroom. This is what you want to make note of up in the upper right-hand corner. Now, I'm going to assume that your school has the ability to link your Google Classroom to your Infinite Campus. If you don't have it linked yet, that is a big part of it. So you need to get with your school IT people and let them show you how to do that. Maybe I can get around to showing you that in another video someday if you're not able to find it. Upper right-hand corner, it's going to say SIS export. SIS export. That's a fancy way of saying you click that button, you choose the test that you want to export. It's going to load those things right into Infinite Campus. And the next time you go over there, you'll have your new grade columns. You'll have all of that right there to look at, guys. And it's as simple as that. So here are the basic rules for Google Classroom. Create a quiz assignment. Make sure in the lower left-hand corner, you've got the feature turned on that says grade importing. It defaults to that, so hopefully it's turned on. Then you assign your test. The kids take the test. When you then go back in and look on that in Google Classroom, it will show you how many have completed the test. If you're ready to grade it, you could actually do this twice and import grades a second time to catch up on students that didn't do it. You go back into your test, you click import grades. You go back over to the left, click turn in to return it to your students. Then you click grades up at the top where it says stream, classroom, people, and grades. Click the grade section. You'll see all your students, all your grades. The most important key in the whole thing that you're going to click up in the upper right corner of that screen will be SIS import. That will immediately start clocking. It might have you choose test if you only want to do one test at a time. Guys, that puts it in Infinite Campus. It's done. You didn't have to grade paper. You didn't even have to do a Kahoot test and enter the percentages from one paper to another. You're finished. It's over. It is all graded and you're done. So I hope you enjoyed this video about getting away from manual grading systems. And I hope you begin listening to the podcast, Substitute Teachers Lounge. It comes out every Sunday morning. So I will see you there on the podcast.